scale patterns are some of the best tools for soloing, and there are many different ones we can practice and use in our playing. But there's a huge problem, a limiting factor to this. Something a lot of people heavily neglect, which is the importance of practicing and getting fluent with whatever pattern you might be learning across all the positions of the scale, across the whole neck. Most times people learn these patterns on the root note position as if it was a specific lick, and don't expand that kind of melodic movement throughout the whole fretboard, and that means leaving so much behind. By doing this, you're only exploring a fraction of the potential that knowing a certain pattern can have in your playing. You probably know that feeling when you're improvising, you're really into it, everything's flowing, but then suddenly you step out of your comfortable area, most likely at the root note position, and it feels like you're lost and you don't know where to go next. If this is your first time here, I'm Stip, I'm a Brazilian guitarist in Australia. 9 years into my guitar journey, went from self-taught to graduating from an international music academy, learned from some legends along the way, and my mission is helping intermediate guitarists level up by practicing smarter. So pentatonic scales are usually the first scales we learn, right? And it's natural to start from the root position. It's intuitive, it's visually clear, and you probably spent countless hours noodling around right there. But that home base can become the trap if it's the only place you feel confident. Because the reality is that if you can only execute a melodic pattern, in this case we're talking specifically about pentatonic scale patterns, but this can apply to any kind of pattern, in one position you don't really own it yet, you're just familiar with that one location. The real fluency comes when you can apply the same rhythmic and melodic logic of that pattern in all 5 positions of the pentatonic scale. Most guitarists already have some awareness of the 5 pentatonic positions, but the issue is that they haven't put in the reps to make each one feel as natural as their root position, and that only happens when you take a pattern and deliberately practice it across the entire fretboard. So let's say you're working on the following pattern. I'll be playing in the key of G minor, right, root position. So let's say it's a pattern alternating 4ths and 5ths. So okay, great. But what tends to happen is that people will master that one position and then unconsciously treat that version as the pattern, when in reality that's just one angle of it. This is one of the things that separates a guitarist who knows something from a guitarist who can actually use it. Something most people don't realize until they try this is that every time you move a pattern to a new position, you're exposing weak spots in your fretboard visualization, because the string crossings change, the fingerings shift slightly, the spacing between the notes is different. So it's totally expected that your level of skill with the same pattern may vary from region to region. So for this I recommend keeping track of your level of skill for each one and always seek to level them up in a balanced way. So inside the practice context of a same pattern, let's say for example this same one I was doing, you would have one section to map how well developed is your execution, how comfortable can you play, and how fast can you play inside the root position. And then when you explore moving around this pattern into other positions, like for example from the root position to the flat third, this would be a different section that would be analyzed and tracked independently, even though it is the same pattern, because it's basically like practicing something different. Even though the pattern is the same, as I said, the finger positions are different, the intervals, sequences are different, and what you are doing technically is different. So it's absolutely normal, there's nothing wrong with being able to play the same pattern faster or more efficiently in a certain region of the fretboard than in others. So as I said, let's always try to keep it leveled. Let's keep going with this practice because I'll show you how it goes. So just quickly revising. Root position. Then flat third. Then moving on. Fourth. Then fifth, and then finally the fifth position in this case, but the flat 7 in terms of intervals. What would be normal and somewhat expected to happen would be to have guitarists getting this idea. So for example, this would most likely be done through tabs, right? So learning the tabs for this lick and treating this as a specific lick, as a hyper-contextualized thing, and not necessarily a melodic movement throughout the scales that can be moved around and used in any region. So the person would be learning this. And it would become kind of like a single trick that could be performed within that root note position, right? And the whole remaining potential, which I honestly believe is way bigger than this, is way more significant than this. So the potential of exploring this kind of melodic articulation across the neck when playing freely, this would basically be lost if the person is treating it this way that I was saying. Just a quick example, moving around with this idea. So as you could see, I used many instances and many little pieces of this, of the movement that's originated by this pattern across my playing here. So I used it in 2-string pairs and smaller groupings, and 3-string groups and 4-string groups, not necessarily using the whole extension. I could have also done that, but the thing I wanted to show here is how mastering the pattern in the sense of playing it across all the extension of the fretboard opens doors for your phrasing to improve a lot, because you will be unlocking many movements you can do across the scales. So you could be making progress from a kind of scale vocabulary that's more restricted, so something along the lines of choose something that benefits from the fluency of mastering the pattern across the fretboard. So implementing these movements like I could be moving the pattern around, right? That's my intention with this video, to help you open your mind to the possibilities we have and to treat the patterns as the possibility to become more articulate with your phrasing. And if you want to become even more articulate and even more intelligent with your phrasing, you can check out the video showing 3 creative licks that mix different tools. So these are licks that mix pentatonic scale, natural minor scale, triads, 7th arpeggios. They are really interesting and they sound really good. They help with this creativity and coming up with interesting lines. So it's the first link in the description and the fixed comment. So watch it because you won't regret. I'm sure it'll help you a lot. If this was helpful for you, if it helped you expand a little bit your vision or maybe see things in a way you hadn't thought about before, please consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.